All right, let's jump right in. We're going to unpack John chapter 6, and I'm telling you, it's one of the most intense, most debated, and just profound chapters in the whole New Testament. It kicks off with this huge, famous miracle, and then by the end, people are literally walking away from Jesus. So what on earth is going on in this chapter? And really, it all pivots on this one absolutely wild claim. You see, Jesus doesn't just say, hey, I can give you bread. He says, I am the bread. That one little sentence, man, it just changes everything. It's basically the author telling us, you gotta look closer. So to really get what he means, we've got to rewind to the start of the chapter, because the author, John, is super intentional here. He's setting us up for something big. This is way more than just a free meal, trust me. So you probably know the story, right? There's this massive crowd, like 5,000 people, and they've only got a handful of loaves and a couple of fish. And then, bam, miraculously everyone eats. But here's the thing. John wants us to see that as just the warm-up act, not the main event. And to really hammer this point home, he uses a specific Greek word, semeion. Now, what's a semeion? Well, it literally means a sign. It's like John is holding up this giant, flashing neon arrow over the whole scene, basically screaming, hey, you! Yeah, you! Don't get distracted by the food. Look where the food is pointing. And get this, the timing is everything. This whole thing goes down during Passover. For a first-century Jewish audience, that's a huge deal. The moment they hear bread from heaven, their minds instantly jump back to Exodus, to the story of manna in the desert. They're thinking about freedom, about God providing for them. This wasn't just a meal. It was politically and theologically charged. Okay, so the stage is perfectly set. You've got the miracle, you've got the Passover context, and now this story hits its first huge crescendo. Jesus takes this loaded idea of bread from heaven and makes this incredibly bold move. He points it right at himself. He basically draws a line in the sand. He tells the crowd, listen, that manna your ancestors ate back in the day, that was great, but it was temporary. They ate it and they still died. The bread I'm talking about, that's the real deal. This is the stuff of eternal life. And here's where it gets really deep. The way he says it, I am, or in the Greek, eĩmι, that's not just casual phrasing. No way. For anyone listening who knew their scriptures, that would have sent a shiver down their spine. It's the same language God uses to reveal his name to Moses. So it's this subtle, but at the same time, absolutely massive claim to be divine. All right, so just when you think people are starting to maybe grasp this idea of spiritual bread, Jesus just floors it. He takes the metaphor and pushes it somewhere so shocking, so graphic, that for a lot of people, it was the final straw. The language suddenly gets super intense, and this is no accident. It's completely deliberate. This is the exact moment the story turns, and you can almost hear the crowd starting to whisper and ask, wait, what did he just say? Okay, so at first he uses a normal Greek word for eat, esthio. It's pretty straightforward. It's the word you'd use for sitting down to a meal. You can still read it as a metaphor. It's digestible, let's say. But then he switches it up. The word changes to trogo. Now, this is not the same thing. This means to chew, to gnaw, to crunch on something. It's a really graphic, almost primal word. John, the author, is doing this on purpose. He's making it impossible to soften the blow or explain it away as just a nice, simple metaphor. And this leads to the line that causes the whole place to erupt. He says you have to eat his flesh, sarx, and drink his blood, haima. I mean, just imagine hearing that. For his Jewish listeners, consuming blood was strictly forbidden by their most sacred laws. This wasn't just weird, it was blasphemous. It sounded like he was telling them to break the law and engage in cannibalism. So as you can imagine, that language didn't just make things awkward in that one synagogue. Oh no. It lit a fire that sparked a 2,000-year-long theological debate. It's a debate that, to this day, helps define the differences between major traditions in Christianity. And you can see just how wide the spectrum of belief is right here. You've got everything from the literal to the purely symbolic. On one end, you have the Catholic view of transubstantiation, which says the bread and wine literally, substantially become the body and blood of Christ. Then, way on the other end, you have a view like the memorialist one, which says it's a powerful symbol, a way to remember Jesus' sacrifice. And of course, there are plenty of other views in between. This one part of John 6 is the bedrock for how different Christians understand communion or the Eucharist. So, okay, we've had the miracle, the shocking theology, the centuries of debate. So what? Where does that leave us today? Well, the text itself seems to pull us back from all that and focuses on a much more personal, universal question. Remember, earlier in the chapter, Jesus says this very thing. The crowd was chasing him down because they wanted another free meal, right? They wanted more of that physical bread that's gone in a day. And he stops them and says, hey, you're working for the wrong kind of food. He challenges them to look for the food that actually endures. And really, that's the journey of this whole chapter, isn't it? It starts with a very real physical hunger. Stomachs are rumbling, people need to eat. And that's solved. But it uses that to pivot to a much, much deeper hunger. The hunger we all have for meaning, for purpose, for a life that feels like it truly lasts. And that's the question John 6 really leaves ringing in our ears. You can put aside all the complex theology for a second, and you're still left with this core challenge. In a world full of things that just don't last, what are you chasing? What does food that endures really mean for you?